I want to start this episode just by saying that I'm by myself this week. We want to trial out a new format where I pick a topic I'm interested in and talk about it on my own, and Matthew does the same. And I like this sort of style. I like talking by myself. I like talking and discussing things with myself because Matthew has a very different way of thinking about things, and I like my way of thinking about things. I understand that it might be interesting for a lot of people to hear two different perspectives, but I think I like the way I can talk and like the way I can present ideas when I'm by myself. I've done this before. So with that said, I want to talk today for the next 20 minutes or so about privilege, and specifically, the impact privilege, financial, and all sorts of other ways, which I'll get into, can have on success in business and beyond. I just wanted to share some thoughts. I can't give too many anecdotes and too many examples, but I wanted to share some thoughts regardless. I want to start off by discussing a term or phrase called the ovarian lottery. I think this is primarily coined by Warren Buffett, who I expect most of you to know. For those of you who don't, he's just an investor, nothing more interesting than that. He talks about this ovarian lottery, which means you're essentially born into this world in a position that is out of your control, right? So you could be born in South Africa and immediately get malaria and die, or you could be born into Belgravia and have the most privileged, the most financially abundant upbringing that is really possible to have. Those are two very, very different situations to be born into. And the ovarian lottery, essentially, if you think of the word lottery, ovaries is in like woman shit, and then lottery is in you can get super lucky, right? Because obviously you don't play a game in the womb and go, do you know what? I want to be born into Belgravia, and then you have to earn that. You don't get to choose. So you get really lucky when you are born into a situation like that. And I want to talk about whether that is good or bad, but just to finish on this ovarian lottery thing. If you can imagine a marathon, right? Everybody, like, let's say you all get timed from the same point. So the clock starts, but let's say there's 10,000 people running this marathon. They're all behind each other. So it's only really the people at the front that are going to get the real chance at winning. Everybody in the back might actually start 5 minutes after, might actually pass the start line 5 minutes or so after the clock has started, which gives them a 5-minute disadvantage. If you think of the people at the front as the ones born into Belgravia, into New York and into the rich families, the well-connected families, those are the ones. And also, this doesn't just mean money. This could mean health. You could be born without a limb. That's not exactly beneficial. Some people with disabilities and mental disorders. I'm very lucky in the sense that I've got all my limbs and I've been born with good health. I wouldn't say I've been born into money. I've been born into a good family. So I'd say I'm definitely towards the front, but I'm definitely not rich. My family they're not well-connected people. Not on a high level, but I'd say I'm towards the front. And this is why I want to talk about this, because I'm sat here in a dedicated studio to music, also to making these podcasts. There are a lot of people that don't have this, and it is starting to play on my mind. The fact that I have this and a lot of other people don't. I want to be able to say when I become successful, because I will, that I worked for this. I earned that. I don't want there to be a narrative that includes the following. Oh, he had all this stuff though. He had the gear. He knew someone who could give him that. Yes, I suppose my parents have been very, very kind to me in the sense that they've allowed me the space. They've allowed me the time to do this. Most people that I know locally don't have an environment like this where they can do this. There are some people who have a lot more than I do. I'm definitely not from a rich family. So on to the main topic then, privilege. Am I privileged? Yes. I'm privileged that I have a mother and father who are both together. Having a male and female role model in my life. There's privilege. I have good health. I have the privilege of having gone to a good school. Not privately educated, but a good public school. State public school. And I learned things, and I went on to get my degree, which I actually think has become a disadvantage. But I was educated well. I've been educated. I've had the privilege of time and resources in terms of technology to be able to spend time researching health and nutrition, so I understand how to fuel my body for productivity. There are compound effects when it comes to privilege. It's not just about having lots of money. Let's talk about an entrepreneur, for example, a young entrepreneur. I met a lot of these in uni. Let's say their father gave them 20 grand to start a business. Oh, here's 20 grand, go and start a business. It's impossible to fail. Well, actually, no, I disagree, but it's easy for them to get started. Okay, I'll just ask my father, give me 20k. Okay, and there we go. And then they'll say, self-made. No, you're not. You got a small loan of £20,000 from your parents. And there's other people who've come from literally nothing, from the poorest of the poor, and have worked so hard and grafted their way to the top. I think the ones with money... The ones with money are at a huge advantage, right? Because they get that stepping stone. It could take somebody 5 years to get 20 grand's worth of capital to invest, But if we look beyond just money, we've got health. If you are in poor health, and there's something called the food matrix, which I want to talk about briefly, but I might do a separate episode on this because it is something that's interesting. Biohacking / the food matrix. You may not have heard either of those terms. I want to discuss them. I may do another episode after this on that. So we've got health. So you can, for example, if you're in a privileged enough position where you can afford to drink only mineral water, you're not ingesting some of the chemicals that are in tap water that might slow you down, because that is a thing. You are able to buy organic foods, fresh fish, good nutrition, as opposed to the cheap stuff, the canned stuff, the processed stuff. So you're already a step ahead because of that fuels your body. You're going to live longer. You're going to live better. You're going to have more fuel for your brain, more cognitive function, more productivity as a result of that. And you're efficient, you're effective. That's privilege. There's people who don't even eat that much. They don't sleep because their nutrition's off. They don't eat properly. There are some kids, that don't even have proper mattresses to sleep in or proper beds. How are they going to get their homework done? If they don't have a dedicated space they can do their homework because they got a big family and they all live in one little box room, how are they going to get any work done? That's lack of privilege. That's underprivilege. That's not fair. So, on to the second portion of this then. Does being privileged, the things that I've just mentioned, set you up for success, or is it a detriment? Let me refer to my notes here, because I have actually asked ChatGPT. So this is what ChatGPT has told me. I asked it for. I just said, does privilege help or damage chances of success? And the first bullet is, privilege can provide advantages and opportunities that are not available to those who do not have the privilege. For example, having access to quality education, healthcare, job opportunities can increase chances of success. Well, yes, of course. However, privilege can also create a sense of entitlement and a lack of awareness of the obstacles faced by those who do not have the privilege. This can lead to a lack of empathy and a failure to recognise the role that privilege has played in one's success. This is a big thing for me. Even though I'm not one of these big sort of fancy rich kids who've been fed with a silver spoon, I am, however, very aware of the fact that I have things other people don't. So I know that I'm already a step ahead in the Avarian lottery. That suggests to me that I'm going to I'm going to, well, actually, no, it doesn't say that I'm going to take it for granted. I don't take it for granted. And this is why I'm addressing it, because I want to make sure that I'm very grateful that I have this. I'm very grateful in every part of my journey that I was able to get a good start at this. Because of the way that my life has been set up, because of my parents' life set up, and the way that they've sacrificed a lot for me and my sister. That's important. That's very important for me to know. This is kind of why I'm talking about this, because I don't want to be this prick that has no empathy and has no real understanding of the real hardships that a lot of these people face when coming from the bottom, the real gutter, like started from the complete bottom. I haven't started at the bottom, but I haven't started halfway up either, because I can't go to my parents and ask them for 20 grand. They'll just laugh at me. They support me, and that in itself is huge. It's huge, Moving on then, we've got... So some research then has shown that factors such as race, gender, socio-economic status can have an impact on access to resources, opportunities. This is something I didn't mention, but being black, for example, you're behind in the Bavarian lottery. As sad as it is to say, it's true. Racism does exist. Sexism, for example, if you're a woman, you may be regarded as less capable. And physically, you are less capable as a woman, which is the truth. It's just the biological truth. Women become mothers, so they're not going to be able to dedicate their whole lives to their careers. If they want children, they need to be maternal. They need to spend time. They need to sacrifice the career for that. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. As a white man, with all his limbs and good health and two parents who are together, who love each other, with moderate income and moderate financial stability, I'm in a fantastic place to begin creating success. But I don't want to say, oh gosh, my problems are really hard, and oh god, this business is hard to run, because there are people who look at me and go, you're fucking lucky, man. You're really lucky. And I am lucky, even though I'm not super rich. I have to keep reminding myself that I've come from a good place, and I cannot let that slide. I've got to make sure that I remember that. It's important. It's also important to acknowledge the role that privilege plays in one's life, and use that privilege to advocate for those who do not have the same privilege. So this includes supporting policies and initiatives that seek to reduce inequality and promote equity. Equity being sort of fairness as opposed to a complete and utter equality. This would include me using... This is what I do, right? I have a lot of friends they've been through it, man. I've spoken on the podcast about this before. I've got friends who both parents dead, family died of cancer. They have nothing, no money, no real job, no house to live in, really. And I just think I don't have any of those problems. I don't have that trauma. I'm in a privileged position, so I need to use that privilege not only to better myself, and I'll get to that now because I haven't answered the question I set out at the beginning, not only to better myself, but also to better other people, the less privileged that need a bit of a helping hand. I'm here for that. That's what I want to do. I want to help people. We spoke today, and this episode will have come out, far in advance of the podcast that we recorded today. I suppose this is an exclusive. We recorded a podcast with Thomas Powell, former Love Island contestant. He is very, very much into this. He wants to help people. He just has a genuine desire to help people. The selflessness that I've seen from him is insane. I don't think I'm selfless. I think I'm selfish. I think all beings are selfish, but I truly want to help people. The less privileged, especially. The rich and the well-connected can go and fuck off for all I care, because they've already got it. They can do whatever they want, whatever. I don't care. I want to help people who need the help. Like, they don't have the resources that I have. I want to help them as much as I can. So to answer the question, then, I think privilege puts you in a better position because of your position in the ovarian lottery. You're further ahead, you're more likely to win the marathon, you're more likely to become successful. However, like, for example, if you come from a lot of money, you don't value money the same way other people do. I saw students spending 2-3 grand at a table at a club, whereas if I had 2 or 3 grand in disposable income, that would last me a couple of months in expenses. Whereas they spending that on a weekend just on alcohol. It's insane, you know. And this is the thing, see, like, if you don't come from a point where you don't have, if you come from abundance, how does building financial wealth really change your life? What is success to you then? How do you define success if you haven't had a journey towards it? You know, the success is the journey, right? I mean, it must be. If you have shitloads of money and your family have Lamborghinis and you're super, super rich and you've been exposed to that, what happens when you get that for yourself? You've already had that. It's hard for me to say because I'm not that person. But for example, your chances of actually being smart about the way you do things, like, for example, if you only have £1,000 in your bank and you're really struggling and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet, and then all of a sudden you have £1 million, you're going to be like, holy shit, you know, especially if you've worked hard for it, you're going to value that. You're going to feel like that's a huge success. And you will have earned that. You will have earned it. Have you really earned that £1 million if you borrowed 50 grand from your parents in order to invest and make that? Is that success? Is that your success? Because I think self-made is a big thing here. And I want to finish with this. If you are in a position like I'm in, where you're slightly privileged, use that privilege to help other people because they deserve it, especially the less fortunate. If you are that really rich kid, you must spend some time not having. Don't rely on your family. Spend a lot of time without. Because that, in my opinion, is the only way you're ever going to appreciate when you build something. And build it for yourself with your own capital that you generated without fancy connections. I think that's the only way to really achieve success. And I think the poor, the people from the bottom, the people in the gutter, they are the ones who are really going to be on top once they've really figured it out. Because they've done that for themselves. They haven't been spoon-fed the way there. They haven't been given that, handed it practically on a plate. So I want to finish with that. And I want to get on the next podcast you'll see, and I think I'm going to record this and put this out in a couple of days' time. In fact, I will. This will come out on the next episode that you'll see will come out on Friday. And I want to talk about the food matrix and biohacking, because a part of privilege, as I said, is health. And I truly believe, in terms of the matrix, I do think the government are hiding certain scientific and biological tests and studies from us in terms of the stuff that we eat and drink. And I think they give us the impression that our drinking water is clean. Like if you look at East Palestine or Ohio, everything you drink and touch and eat there is poison. Yet they seem to claim that it's all clean and fine. That's not true. I think the government, they want you to ingest chemicals so that you are slower than the rest. They keep you as slaves to the matrix. I truly, truly believe this. So I'm going to go on and talk about that. And then biohacking, which is the art of hacking into your biological system for the purpose of optimizing productivity, optimizing brain power, health, and all of that stuff. So I want to leave it there. I hope you enjoy this style, maybe like the solo podcast, that's what me and Matthew call them. If you don't like me, this probably isn't going to be your favorite podcast style. There's a lot of people that don't like me, but I try my best to be as kind and as caring to everyone. I do have a big ego, but I really truly believe you have to hold yourself to a high standard and work to reach that standard. So with that said, thank you for watching. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. I can speak on behalf of myself and Matthew and say that yes, I can speak on behalf of myself and Matthew and say that you know, we are really grateful for the progress we've begun to make. We're starting to get some views on videos. We're starting to get some traction. We're approaching 1,000 followers on Instagram, which is good. I mean, I'm never satisfied, right? But I am very grateful for the fact that we've managed to do that. I've had my personal Instagram 6, 7, 8 years, probably longer. And yeah, in fact, definitely longer. It's probably had about 10 years now. And I'm still sub 1,000 followers. So it's really crazy when you apply yourself that how much you can grow. I want to leave it there because this is supposed to be a short episode. I anticipate this has been slightly longer, but if you have enjoyed this, I'd really appreciate it if you could go and subscribe and like this video. It helps us a lot, more than you could possibly know. And yes, enough of my waffle. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you on Friday for the biohacking and food matrix episode. Again, just me. Oosh.